Hello, I'm Ricky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and today we're going to talk about loss of money, specifically through PayPal. And look at that. Look at all that light that's on me. You know what? I'm next to a window. Can you tell? Well, okay, so the lake out here, the lake is right outside my window. If I could unmount this camera and show you my lake, I would. So, but let me just adjust this right here. Oh, that doesn't look so good either. Looks like I'm in prison bars, doesn't it? Well, I'm just going to have to deal with a little bit of extra light that I wasn't expecting. So, maybe if I move... Oh, hey, look at that. I moved forward a little bit, and it looks pretty good. So, behind me, before we talk about PayPal and avoiding chargebacks, because that's really the question that Jordan has. So, I had asked you guys on one of the live shows as to whether or not you wanted to see me build my new computer. I'm actually not live streaming this particular episode, because of the fact that my computer is going through so much turmoil right now. It just doesn't know how to behave correctly. It's like a problem child. So, anyway, I have a replacement child back here. Actually, I just received the last parts today for my new computer that I'm building, and it's going to use some of my parts that I've got in my old machine, and what I'll be doing is actually I'm probably going to include building on the computer with you know, at the end of episodes that I film like this. I won't be able to do them live, especially when I have my computer in pieces. You know, my live broadcasting software takes an enormous amount of horsepower, and my laptop just won't cut it. So even though my laptop is a quad core with like 8 gigs of RAM, it just won't cut it. And so anyway, maybe we'll take a closer look at this case once at the end of this episode. So, I have a question here from Jordan. And Jordan says that he has a question on PayPal chargebacks and virtual goods. So he says, I'm wondering if you can tell me how to avoid PayPal chargebacks. I make that face because if I can figure out how to totally avoid them, yeah, I'll sell that information for a lot of money. Make $1 billion. You can also send me PayPal payments for that information, and hopefully none of you will charge back. Okay, so he says, I'm working on a business venture that will facilitate high dollar charges. And I want to avoid as much of the hassle as possible while still not having to do credit cards and money charges directly. Let me say that PayPal will actually do a better job for you than doing the payments direct. And you have to reach PCI compliance in order to do credit card charges directly over the internet. And PCI compliance is very expensive, and it is a pain in the ass. Yes, I cussed. Ass. No, that's not really cussing now, is it? So, anyway, it is a very big pain in the ass to get PCI compliance. And in fact, my store, which I can use as an example, there's a link in the description to see our store. We do not get a whole lot of fraud, but there's a whole bunch of things that go into that. And so now we are not PCI compliant, but that is because we don't process credit cards directly on our site, and we don't store any information on the site that is sensitive. And so now we do we do meet a lot of the compliancy in, you know, intrusion detection, keeping people out, all of that stuff. But we don't. There's some other things to it about how you store data and where it is stored, and you know that certain data has to be stored offline, and you have to have these audits. And basically it's a lot of money to do that. Now, if we were, say, doing $1 million in sales a month, then I would definitely look at getting in PCI compliancy. But since we are not, I'm not worried about it. I let people like PayPal or Google Checkout or money bookers worry about the compliancy, and we use them as a payment solution. I can also tell you that PayPal at their highest tier will give you the lowest rate of 1.9% plus 30 cents per transaction, and that taking credit cards directly will typically cost you more. So why not use PayPal and let them take the brunt of the work, especially when they're cheaper? Now, I think you have to do over $100,000 a month in order to reach that tier, or maybe it's $150,000 a month. I'm not sure. But anyway, there's tiers too whenever you're going through credit card stuff directly. So, and it's just a lot more complicated. So, okay, that's my rant about that, about why you should just use PayPal and such. But more so, you have to, I don't know what kind of virtual items you're doing, but I can say this: you have zero, or maybe it's more like this instead of like this. That's more like okay. So you have zero defense against people stealing from you when you are selling virtual goods. And so the key is to weed them out beforehand. Now, I have a lot of years. I have, let's see, I was using PayPal whenever it was X.com. And they were a bank. They were like the first quote-unquote internet bank, and they were very proud of it. And I think that maybe that was in 99, 98 or 99. Before that, we used Western Union, and I had people mail me checks. And then I'd wait for the checks to clear. It wasn't this instant gratification like we have now. And so Western Union, at the very least, it took you, probably 24 hours to get out there and pick it up, because I had a bunch of payments coming in, and I would only go there once a day. So I would make my trip daily, and then I would come back and I would deliver the orders. And so you could end up waiting 24, 36 hours maybe. And with checks, we always made them clear, which really what we would do is we would give like 5 business days, and then if it hadn't bounced, we considered it to be cleared. Back in the old days. So now with PayPal, you got to do everything up front. And so you have to pre-approve your customers. We do turn down some people, and I akin it to being in a club. And there's a lot of magic that happens behind the scenes. And I'm going to try and give you some words of wisdom, some value to what I'm talking about here, other than saying that we have magic canned in our website that we do to figure these things out. And so there is some magic that happens. There's about 80 different checks that happen whenever someone makes a purchase. And it does things as simple as, one of the most simple things you can do is be sure to grab an IP every time someone makes a purchase, and then track that IP back to its origin and make sure that the address matches with that. But further than that, there's a lot of people who use proxies or anonymous proxies and stuff like that. And so you can't tell whether or not they are actually at that location. They could have hacked the computer that's at that location and then be proxying through to make it look like, maybe they hacked their PayPal account and they hacked their computer. Maybe that's how they got access to their PayPal account. And then they use it as a proxy to make purchases. And so it looks like that person is actually making the purchase. Well, you need to use software or services like ThreatMetrix or MaxMind. And those ones, ThreatMetrix for sure can pierce proxies. And so it's, they have a whole bunch of things that they do. They also, not only can they tell you the exact location of where the purchase is coming from, and if they're going through a proxy, they can tell you then it's actually coming from China, Romania, France, Germany, wherever, even though it says that it's in like Nashville, Tennessee, or something like that here in the United States. So another tool that you can use, especially if it's high dollars, is to actually call and talk to the customers. Now, we do calls sometimes, not all the time, just sometimes, and but only when it's warranted. But if it was high dollar purchases, and I don't know what you consider to be high dollar purchases, but if they're say $300, $400, $1,000, I'd definitely be giving them a call if it was their first time buying from you. And so then you can speak to them. And let me tell you a story about how I called somebody one time, and I can't remember what his name was, but it was something that sounded very American. It was like Grover Smith or something like that. And so I know that somebody of that name could be living another place in the world and everything, but it was just kind of a very American name. And so I called and I asked to speak to Grover, or whatever his name was. And the guy on the other end of the line is like, this is Grover, except I can't do it. He had a Russian accent, a very thick Russian accent. And I thought, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. I've never met a Russian named Grover before. And, and with the last name of Smith, not Petrovitsky or, something like that, something very Russian. But it does exist. There are people who are in different countries who have strong accents from those countries that it may sound very much like, that they don't belong given their name, but, you have to give the benefit of the doubt. That's just one out of many things. So I went through asking a couple of questions, and so I asked him what city and state he was in. And because I saw it was Nashville, Tennessee, and he says, oh, it's Nashville, Tennessee. If you live in Nashville, I think you know how to pronounce it. And if you live in Tennessee, I still think you know how to pronounce it. I lived in Oregon, and that I actually lived there because of how I pronounce it. Everybody else pronounces it Oregon, and we pronounce it Oregon. It's like Oregon, And so, we would know when somebody maybe doesn't really live there based on how it's pronounced. And that is something that I've picked up over time, is that knowing how each region pronounces where their location is. And you could look up, I'm sure there's resources out there that could correctly pronounce and give an audible thing on the web of how to pronounce Nashville, Tennessee. Or Portland, Oregon, instead of Oregon. And so, I think you could get a pretty good idea of those kind of things. And it would just help you. It's just one of the clues and everything. And those two things on their own don't equal that it's fraud and you should deny it. So there's a lot more into it than that. But, hopefully that can give you kind of clues to get started. Now, I can also tell you that there's a lot of game publishers out there who have not been able to get this right, who have not been able to get it figured out for these issues of fighting fraud and combating fraud. And that's one of the things that I consult on with game companies is how to set up their systems so that it doesn't encourage fraud, because you're going to get fraud no matter what. But there's a lot of things you can do to discourage it, or to make it so it's not an easy target or it's less advantageous. And in fact, with some game companies, we have actually done their payment processing for them under their name, to where the people who are playing the games don't even know that they're coming through us. And so, it's kind of a white label thing, and we just get a cut for processing all the orders, and we control their PayPal account for them and everything. I mean, it's still theirs. We just have access to it to process transactions and to fight the fraud, and we make guarantees to them of how little the fraud will be, which our guarantee is typically less than 1%. And it's at about 1.5% that PayPal will really start squawking at you, and that's because Visa and MasterCard and the credit card companies really start squawking at them when you're over 1.5%. And in fact, they can levy fines against your account for taking too much fraud, and that can get very, very expensive. So anyway, okay, I didn't mean to turn this into an advertisement about us, but if you do need services like that, you can come to us and we can provide those transactions for you and work our magic in the background. Jordan, I hope that that at least puts you on the right track. I can tell you that it gets even more of a slippery slope when you are doing items that are, say, a violation of the terms of service for a video game. Then it becomes even a more slippery slope. There's also other slippery slopes, which is like stuff like the game codes that we sell, because that game code has value, and so if you use a stolen credit card or hacked PayPal account to buy it, and then you can turn around and sell it to somebody else and receive money into your real PayPal account at like a discounted price, then that is one of the ways that a lot of carders and such will steal your money, and then they make those purchases, and that's how they get them. That's how they recoup the money back. So anyway, hope that helps. Gives you at least a direction to go. So now let's take a look at this case. This case is a Antec. It's a dark. It is the dark line. I forget even. It's the DF85, Antec DF85. It's the dark fleet. This is a full tower, and let me see here if I can just adjust this just a little bit so that we can better see the case on the screen, and so you'll hear me talking. Okay, so I had just taken it out of the case, and apparently I have these things up here which are going to protect my CD-ROM drives, which is not going to be that big of a deal, because really, do I need to protect my CD-ROM drives? So okay, so this has got some really cool features on it which I didn't even realize were in it. And up at the top here, which maybe in another episode when I'll do one with a handheld camera, it's got an SSD slot drive right here, which I didn't even know was in there. I didn't even think about that. But this is a full tower case, and part of why I got this was because of the cooling. You can see here it's got two major fans on the top, and each one of these here is an independent fan in the front. It has dials here, which I think is so I can turn it up and down. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. So I just bought this based off of reviews and based off of what other people were saying for cooling, because cooling has been my enemy and been my issue with a lot of my videos with doing recordings. So let's see if this panel comes off here and take a look inside. So I've got two more fans up here. I've got golly, let's see, there's 3 fans there, so 3, 4, 5, 7 fans total, plus I believe I have a fan in here in my power supply. So that's going to be 8 fans, and then I've also, because I'm a big fan of cooling, I have a couple other ultra quiet fans that I bought, and so what they do is they're low RPM with high airflow to keep it quieter. I need it as quiet as possible while I'm recording. So anyway, in more episodes I will figure out what the heck I'm doing here, and we'll share that with you. Well, what good timing. Sounds like I have an order in the store. The very store that I was talking about as an example. So anyway, I hope that helps Jordan, and you know, watch for future episodes. I will play these all in order. They won't necessarily all have the hardware stuff of me rebuilding my machine, but they'll all appear in order, and you know, so you can watch this as you go through. If you're not currently subscribed, please subscribe. I'm Marky Dragon. Take care. Well, it's very nice of you to make it this far in the video. Hey, since you're here, are you looking for something else to watch? Because I got plenty else to watch. You know, in the upper left-hand corner, I'm talking about whether or not you really can get banned for buying gold in World of Warcraft. That is part of the Marky Dragon Show. You click on that and it'll take you to the Marky Dragon Show homepage. And and then in the lower left, Path of Exile. That is Matthew, also known as Spellbinding Gamer, who I've done some gameplay stuff with. He is playing Path of Exile, and it's a Diablo-esque type game. He's got a great playlist showing a lot of content for it, and the game looks really good. It's not one that I've tried yet, but if I get some time, I will be. But what I've been playing is World of Tanks, lower right, and been playing that a lot. Click on that and it'll take you to the World of Tanks playlist I have. You can watch me kicking some ass and getting my ass kicked at the same time. Upper right, that is part of my vlog, and I just purchased recently an AverMedia card, showing it off there, and it is what I use with my applications for recording. It's actually like adding another CPU to my computer, and so all the video recordings that I do, it runs off of that card and doesn't take CPU time, or very, very little comparatively. And so I'm able to get really high frame rates in games while recording them or even broadcasting them live. And it has another thing too. You can actually hook up like your Xbox or PS3 to it and record that as well. So check those out if any of them interest you, and please do subscribe to my channel here. Take care, everybody.